Good morning, everyone. It is an absolutely lovely rainy day, and today we're going to be dissecting the openings of 5 books, 2 of which are from best-selling authors and 3 are new releases. So I have never read anything from this author yet, so this is going to be a very fresh perspective for me. So first of all, Stuart McBride has 6.5 million copies sold worldwide, and from what I've been able to have a look at on Google, he's a very popular author. Now, the cover says automatic must read review from Lee Child, and a masterful storyteller from Karen Slaughter, right? So I'm expecting good things from this book, so let's jump straight in. I'm going to read the prologue or the opening, and I'll let you guys know what I think. Okay, so I've read the prologue and I have to say that I'm not impressed. And while I'm sure that there are many of you out there who love this book, and genuinely it does have a few things that are working really well. So the premise is the prologue only, where we're going to work through this book and I'll dissect and review it as we go and let you know what I think. But the premise is you've got a couple, pregnant wife and husband or partner. They're driving early in the morning and there's fog. The pregnant partner needs to go to the bathroom, so they pull up in a lay-by, which is like a little side of the road. It's cordoned off, it's foggy, dark, and isolated. So first off, this is a very believable situation. I have definitely experienced the urgent need to pee whilst pregnant, and I'm sure that many of our pregnant viewers have definitely can relate to this. However, that's probably about where the relating to the characters ended for me personally. So the premise was good. They pull up, she goes to the bathroom, the partner deposits the napkins, which is a huge believability issue for me, because if you're in the dark on the side of the road and you pee with some McDonald's napkins, you're just going to throw them on the side of the road. But the story needs to get someone to open the bin to discover the decomposing body. So the question that the prologue opens and presents to us is, what happened to the body in the bin? Which is really a genuinely interesting question, definitely worth a book. You know, it had its teeth removed, the body, you know, so that's interesting. So there's some genuinely good things about this prologue that, you know, add some questions, make it worthwhile to continue on to chapter 1. So am I going to continue on to chapter 1? Yes. Do I think that this prologue is as good as it could be? No. So I'm going to go through some craft issues that I personally struggle with. So I think the tension of the prologue is good. It's got forward pull. I don't connect emotionally to the characters at all, and the author has completely lost my trust because the believability of the situation isn't there for me. So let's just go through these believability issues, because they're the major flaw that I had when trying to connect to this prologue. So it didn't immediately pull me in, because all my mind did was highlight how unbelievable, you know, like these things are just not going to happen. So I think the author could have been a lot more creative in finding a way to get someone to open the bin so that we can see the body, which was the point of the prologue, right? So first of all, the relationship between the husband and the wife, or the partners, it doesn't ring true. So we need to establish that the husband is germaphobe, right? He's terrified of germs. But we first experienced this through his disgust at the idea of his wife peeing on the side of the road. I don't think I've ever met anyone who is disgusted about the idea of their wife peeing. The the prose tells us that these two people are partnered, right? They're moving their lives from one point to another point. She's pregnant to him, but the interpersonal connection between the two characters isn't there. I would have found it more believable if I was told that she was the surrogate for his child, rather than, like, I'm still struggling to come to terms with the fact that these two people made a child. So yeah, I get that we want the guy to be a germaphobe so that when he inevitably does spill the decomposing corpse onto the street, onto the ground, and gets stuck in the goopy, decomposing, stinking mess that comes out of the wheelie bin, you know, we want to experience this from a germaphobe's perspective. So obviously it's going to be just slightly more horrifying than for him than it would be for someone without that germaphobe. So I understand why we're wanting a germaphobe character opening the bin. However, being disgusted by your wife peeing and depositing some pee napkins into a bin is quite unrealistic for me. So that really knocked down my trust in this author, to be able to present realistic characters that are psychologically accurate or psychologically interesting. So I was interested in the corpse in the bin, yeah, sure, like we all want to know that, but did I connect with these characters? Absolutely not. They're just not believable to me. And there was a few things. So we've got this situation where the wife is peeing in the weeds on the side of the road. He hears the snap in the shrubs, and he's quite convinced that there's someone there, and he's freaking out, as you would, because it's dark, you know. That snap goes nowhere. So you've got a decomposed corpse in a bin. Why would the killer be hanging around in the morning in the fog and the dark, hanging out with the corpse? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, no one's going to do that. So what made the snapping noise? And it happened multiple times whilst he was waiting, you know. So the wife has passed it off as a fox or something. Foxes don't generally make huge cracking noises. It would need to be something heavy. So that, you know, is it tension building? Did it build tension? I don't know. Did it go anywhere? Probably not. Okay, and then you've got the other atmospherical issue. You know, you've got fog, and then when he finally does open the bin, the stench is overwhelming, and you've got this germaphobe, right? So why would he even open the bin in the first place? You know, he's scared of piss on a napkin and disgusted by his wife twiddling on the side of the road. Like, he's not going to go over to a bin and go, I can't breathe, I'm going to vomit from the smell, and then open it to deposit some pee on a McDonald's napkin. Like, this does not make sense. This is not authentic psychology. This is convenience writing. So I'm really sorry to Stuart McBride. Sorry, I forgot your name, because I just picked this book up from Big W, and I'm reviewing it as I'm reading it. So sorry, Stuart, but I'm not convinced by your psychological map for your characters here, because it's not working. Okay, so then you've got the whole climax. Like, this guy spills a bin onto the ground and gets covered in goop, right? How he spills the bin, it's a wheelie bin. A wheelie bin's a plastic, right? He gets his friendship bracelets stuck on the handle of the bin. How the hell does that break a metal strut, no matter how rusty it is? Like, friendship bracelets are made out of bits of cotton tied in knots. I mean, that is not going to break before the strut holding the bin in place. So, you know, there's a few scientific core vulnerabilities in this prologue that make it completely unreliable, and, you know, the believability isn't there. Also, the staged lighting, you know, seeing into a wheelie bin requires, especially in the dark, in the fog, is going to require light from coming overhead, right? This happens, you know, and the whole time in the prologue we got lights coming, oh yes, the light in the fog, lights coming, oh yes, the light in the fog. And then when he's opening the bin to put in the napkins, yeah, there's a convenient tractor with some overhead lights. Doesn't matter how overhead the lights of the tractor are, they need to be fairly overhead, right? And this is modern, you know, they're gonna have phones. Why wouldn't he have reached into his pocket and got out his phone for a light if he's approaching this stinky bin and he's scared of germs? Like it's not gonna happen, right? So already I'm just like, this is unrealistic. Like, how are you going to write a crime novel that's authentic if you can't even get someone to open a bin? Now, what did work is the skeleton. That's like a professional hit. You know, gooping around in a bin. That's pretty cool. Like, that's nice and gruesome. You know, I want to find out what happened. Characters I don't care about, so that's not really going to make me turn the page. There's a few really annoying things. So in the first opening section of the book, now this drove me mad, and so you have the wife having an emotional reaction to the husband, which, you know, is very believable, I suppose, but he has her freckles turning black when she flushes beetroot with anger. Like, that's not possible. Freckles are flat melanin areas on the skin. Blood flow does not change their color. The only thing that can change the color of freckles is exposure to sunlight over a long period of time can make, you know, freckles darker, or lack of sunlight can make freckles fade a little bit, you know, whatever. But blood flow does not impact on the color of freckles at all. In fact, someone flushing beetroot is probably going to make their freckles stand out less because it's reducing the contrast between the freckles and the skin, right? So, I mean, that was just me personally being annoyed, because I'm like, that is scientifically not possible. How are you going to discuss anything about a corpse if you don't even understand how freckles work? Like, really? Should be researching these things if you're going to put it in a book. Right, what else? The real thing that pissed me off about this wasn't the idea. The idea is good, yeah? But it's that everything is delivered. You don't have to think about anything. It's like having it spelled out for you really badly. So it requires no cognitive leap to understand the character, and I think that puts a distance between me. Like, this is just me personally. Obviously, thousands and millions of people love these books because he's sold 6.5 million copies, right? So I'm not saying he's a bad author. I'm just saying that for me personally, I think it sucks, right? Because it puts the distance there, you know. He's explaining the relationship to me, not showing me the relationship in a way that makes me assemble it inside my head. And when I have to assemble something in my head, I assemble it in a way that's very authentic to me, and I assume that authenticity comes from the reader, not from what's on the page, because every reader is going to assemble it in their own unique way, from their own unique experiences, and that gives the character the authenticity. So if you're sitting here having it, you know, spelled out for you, it loses the authenticity that the reader gives the character. So that's what I'm thinking about this prologue. The idea is good, and I really hope that the book gets better, because I've never read anything from Stuart McBride before, and I'm really hoping that the book grows as we move along and I fall into this amazing world of juicy bin corpses. So please live up to your online expectation. I'm going to read Act 1 now, and I will come back to you